What it is, y'all, boys and girls? It's your boy Drix. Go on and spell it out with me. Drix, and we finna react to How to Beat the Time Loop in Until Dawn. If you didn't know, first off, you should know what Until Dawn is. If you didn't, let me know. I'll play that bitch on the gaming channel and we'll find out together. My bad. But yeah, if you don't know what Until Dawn is, it was basically like a video game where you made decisions. It was like really the first. It was like a real runoff of the Telltale Walking Dead like decision decides how shit go of type of video games, and shit did extremely well on PlayStation. But this movie, I went to go watch it, didn't follow that fucking recipe one fucking bit. There's only one thing in this shit that is conclusive. The one man in there, the human murderer, the Wendigos. Those are the only two things that are in there. Let's go ahead and hop into it. Don't mind me. I just got off work. When I get off work, I gotta go drive an hour and 20 minutes to go pick my pops up because his car is in the shop. I've been having to do that shit for the longest. I don't want to do it, so don't mind me if I throw a little chicken wing back while we watching this shit. Let's go ahead and hop in.
That you could like reload saves like in a video game and try something different whenever you screw up. I mean, that sounds great and all until you
Also,
end up
bro,
trapped
I
in a
love
real
content
life
like
survival
this, bro.
horror
Like,
video
y'all
game
don't
where
be
every death
fucking with
feels
the
like
how
it
to beat
really
videos I
happened.
be posting.
And if you don't
Like,
get out soon enough, you'll become one of the monsters yourself.
If you don't,
it's
you
like
the problem,
Cabin in the
for real.
Woods meets Edge of Tomorrow with some of the freakiest creatures and goriest kills that you've ever seen. So we're here to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to escape the death loop in Until Dawn.
Hold on, let me dip it. Y'all get a view of that.
These friends are about to be
This shit
trapped
look
in
like
the
I
most
just posted that
terrifying
bitch
night
on
of their
a
lives.
IG
Clover
IG
here is on a
page.
road trip with 4 of her best friends in search of her missing sister, Melanie. It's been 1 year since the girl vanished without a trace after sending her last message from this gas station in the middle of nowhere. And going inside, the creepy clerk points her to the nearby town of Glore Valley, where he says that people seem to disappear all the time. They haven't made it far before they end up lost in a torrential storm, but just when they're really starting to panic, they suddenly hit a pocket of perfectly clear weather over an empty patch of land somewhere deep in the woods. The only building in sight is an old welcome center, so they decide to stop inside and take a look around. The place is completely empty with no sign of anyone, but while the others are busy checking it out, Nina signs.
I'll be real. I went to the movie. I came late. I didn't see any of this. This is all new portion. This is all new to me. I just knew that they came to this house in some location.
Her name in the guest book, and that right there was her biggest mistake. Flipping the page, they're shocked to find Melanie's name written several times, with each time getting worse and worse until she can barely write it at all. That's when they realize that the hourglass on the wall has started counting down towards 0, and looking outside, they see that somebody is already sitting in their car. They have no idea what this guy could be up to, but with no service and no car, they decide to check for a phone somewhere inside the building, leaving Nina and her boyfriend Abe to keep an eye on the situation outside. Alright gamers, something tells me this guy knows exactly what happened to Clover's sister. Now, I'm glad they're not about to go out there and ask him for directions like most of these idiots would, but they're still completely underreacting to the situation. And the truth is that they've been setting themselves up for failure since the very beginning. First off, anyone who's ever seen a slasher movie knows that when the gas station guy tells you not to go somewhere, you shut the hell up and listen, alright? His exact words were, Glore Valley, that's where people get in trouble. And these 5 morons just drove straight to it like it was an open invitation. With her mom dead and her sister probably the same, Clover here might feel like she doesn't have much to lose, but everyone else still has a bright future ahead of them. And if a friend told me that we had to go on a trip to the Valley of Mysterious Disappearances, I'd tell that dumbass that she's on her own. But you know what, y'all? If I was with these guys, you know I wouldn't be exploring no creepy-ass building. What I would be doing is way smarter and, let's face it, way cooler. Yeah, that's right. I'd be playing Raid Shadow Legends. Me and my 5 million homies be on the Raid servers tooling up.
He got us fucked up, y'all boys. Let's go ahead and skip this. He got us fucked up. Whoa. Damn, Raid Shadow Legend be handing out money. Y'all boys don't hate me if I goddamn fuck around, blow up, get a Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship. I'm going.
And the Nyoki boys.
I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm easy.
So join me and the 5 million monthly players in downloading Raid Shadow Legends today. At bare minimum, they should have used their phones to take some precautions, like having everyone in the group text at least 2 trusted contacts each, letting them know exactly where they were going and when they should expect to hear from them next.
Why would they,
or
though?
start sharing
We're
locations
chasing a
with
trail
them
of
in
my
real
system
time.
disappeared
I mean,
for a
that
year.
way they'd know that help was eventually coming no matter what. I'd also take a quick minute to research the area first, because
why would it cross
as
their
Max
mind to
here
say,
points out,
yeah,
knowledge is power.
let's make
now,
sure
it's
somebody
already
knows where
too
we
late
at.
to never come
Y'all
there in the
doing
first
something y'all
place, but
shouldn't be doing
it's
in the
never
first
too early
place.
to start preparing for the worst case scenario. Personally,
Nah,
I'd
man, we
already
gotta
be
start putting
pushing
what Kill Count
furniture in
do
front
and
of the
put- and
door
get a
instead of
sponsor so you
waiting
can
to
show the
find
blood and
out,
shit.
but it looks like these
great
5 are
blood
about to
effect
learn
that
that
some of these niggas be
lesson
doing
the
be
hard
glaring.
way.
Clover
Clover and the others find their way down into the building's creepy basement, where it seems like someone used to live before the place was suddenly abandoned. It doesn't take her long to find an old phone, but the line is already dead, so it won't be much help. All of a sudden, their friends upstairs hear a strange noise from somewhere at the end of the hall, and Abe here wanders off to see what caused it. After a minute, Nina hears another loud thud from the other room, and as she nervously goes to check it out, she's horrified to discover that her boyfriend's been completely cut in half by an enormous mask-wearing psycho with a
That shit was crazy
pickaxe.
as fuck.
Hearing her
They
scream,
started this
Max
shit
goes
out.
upstairs to investigate,
Murder.
only to see
That's
the
it.
killer
They
standing
started it
over
out
his friend's
fucking
body.
murder.
Terrified, he immediately runs back to warn the others, and they all take cover as the band starts following him down into the basement. Seeing an opportunity, he grabs a wooden chair and shatters it over the killer's back, but the attack has absolutely no effect, and when he reaches for a broken piece, the man yanks it out of his hand and pierces him straight through the eye. This leaves only Clover and her friend Megan still alive, and she nervously grabs the knife off the counter as he focuses in on the closet where the other girl is hiding. Suddenly he blasts his arm through the
send the
opening and
fucking
pulls her
message.
straight
Damn.
through the door, picking her up by the ankles and slamming her body
slammed
against
her-
the wall before she even knows.
Slammed her dumb ass on the wall. I'm sitting here in the movie like, this gotta be out her damn mind.
What happened? Desperate, she begs Clover for help as he brutally slams her head against the
Somebody need to tell me why when we in a horror movie, in a horror situation, and one person gets caught, you start asking me for help even if we in the same hiding spot. Why the fuck would I do that? And you're just as fucked up for... Yo, he caught us. Yo, come out, man. He caught us, dude. He caught us. We're caught. There's nothing else for us to do. She's right there in that corner, right there over there. Go ahead, get her. Just do what you need to do to her. Why are you screaming help? I can't help you. He just grabbed you by your ankles and slammed you on the fucking wall. What you think he gonna do to me?
floor over and over again.
blowing.
But the girl just stands there frozen until it's already too late. Finally, she charges forward and puts the knife into
did
his
some
shoulder,
crazy
but
shit,
the
though.
killer doesn't even flinch as he slowly rises to his
This is
feet
exactly
and
why we
follows her
don't
back
help.
upstairs.
She
Sprinting
showed us
for the
exactly why
exit,
we
she
don't
takes
help.
off running
Mass
into the
fucking
woods,
mass
but she
murderer,
doesn't make it far
6'7"
before she trips
mass
and
murderer.
falls flat on her face.
Throwing
Picking
my
herself
homegirl
up,
around like
she's
a
caught off
rag doll.
guard
He don't
when
even
another
look buff,
vision of
he
her
look
sister
normal.
appears in the moonlight, until suddenly the killer catches up and swings his pickaxe straight through her stomach, making all 5 of them down with no more to go. A split second later, they all wake up again at the exact
Bruised up.
moment when Nina signed her name in the book. They're all covered in scars and bruises that match up with how they were killed, but strangely, it seems like Clover's death brought them all back to life. Alright, that was embarrassing. They'll never get anywhere with survival skills
I don't
like
think it was
that, and
specifically
right about
her
now,
death.
I
I
think
think it
one
was
thing is
more
starting
so
to
just
sink in. Clover
the
and
last
friends,
person
it
dead.
looks like you all just f***ed up. Now, we already covered how the gas station was pretty much your last chance to smarten up, but if you're going to deliberately put yourself in a slasher movie type scenario, then you better remember the rules if you want to survive. Let's start with you, Abe. Horror Movie 101 says that you never go check out any suspicious noises on your own. If you hear a strange sound, no you didn't, unless you're bringing a meat shield with you. That way you won't end up getting picked off one idiot at a time. And as for you,
And that's
Nina,
facts.
the minute that your man stopped answering back, yeah, that's when you needed to start
Bruh,
screaming
if
for
it was me, I
backup
would've
and
checked
running
it out.
anywhere
I'd
but
be
into
able to
the
me, I would've
exact
checked
same
it out.
room where he
I'm
just
around the
disappeared.
house.
And now, am I right or am I right? Those two never even stood a chance, and that's
thing is, I
why
would've
from
checked
the
it out
very
smart,
beginning,
I
you
would've-
all should have been treating this like a visit
Hit
from
the
the
corner.
strangers. I'm talking
Turn
about
around.
grabbing some weapons off walls, pushing furniture in front of doors, and getting ready to protect yourselves
If
if
it was
the
too dark,
worst comes to worst. Now,
I
I gotta
ain't
give
going.
Max some
Then if it
credit
was somebody
here
in
for
the
at
clown
least
mask?
trying to do something about it. But Clover,
Uh-oh.
what the hell was that? You waited that long to stab him in the shoulder? I think we all learned 2 very important lessons here. Next time, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And always aim for the head. Sorry, party people. It looks like you just...
one video, bro.
Duh.
This shit depressing.
Checking the wall, they see that each of their pictures has been added to the board of missing people, and Megan says that whatever has control of the place must have them trapped. It seems like they're stuck in a loop, with the events of the night repeating themselves over and over again, but that's when the lights start to flicker and they realize that it's going to be different every time. Just then, they hear the front door slam in the lobby, and as they cautiously peek around the corner, they find it opening and closing all on its own. Abe runs over to lock it, but it opens again as soon as he turns around, forcing them to jam it shut with whatever they can find. Looking at the hourglass, Nina realizes that it's been reset, and while they're all distracted, Megan starts to feel like something incredibly strange is happening to her body. All of a sudden, she lets out an ear-piercing scream as her bones begin to twist, and her eyes roll into the back of her skull, shattering every light bulb in the building. And by the time that her friends turn on their flashlights, the girl has already disappeared. They find her in...
It's like, bro, they could have, this shit just like scary stories to tell in the dark, and this shit would have been fire. Each fucking different plot line with its own conclusion, but these shits were short. This movie was like 1 hour and 30 minutes. This shit was bad. They fucked it up. They could have made this shit tough though.
In the room with the board full of missing posters, levitating in mid-air, and repeating the last words of each victim in their own voice. Until finally, she looks at her friends and cries, "Don't let it in," before the demonic force that's controlling her violently snaps her neck. Terrified, they're wondering what's next when they hear someone knocking on the front door, but when they look out the window, it seems like there's nobody on the other side. Suddenly, whatever's out there starts calling for help in her sister's voice, and panicking, Clover throws open the door only to realize that it was all a trick. Looking across the driveway, they spot a rundown old shack that definitely wasn't there earlier, but before she can do anything to prepare herself, the demonic force launches Clover into the air and starts dragging her back towards the open door. Max tries rushing to save her, but the spirit throws him back into the building and locks them inside, and after letting the girl go just long enough to mess with her head, it immediately grabs her again and pulls her back into the abandoned house. Freaking out, Max keeps insisting that they need to save her, but Abe and Nina are convinced that it's too late, and they're already prepared to leave the girl behind. Furious, he storms outside and slams the door in their faces, making it obvious that the pressure is already splitting the group.
Like now the nigga could go outside all of a sudden, that shit was blowing
apart.
And he was blowing me most
This ain't
importantly
gonna
in the
end
movie.
well. They're already letting the pressure get to their heads, and this is only their second
but I love her,
So
let
if
me
they
try
want
to
to
protect her and
survive, then
save
they
her
need
and
to
all that other
start
shit.
working together before things get any worse. Now, as terrifying as that may be, knowing that they have respawns gives them some very important information to work with. Normally, I'd agree with Abe and Nina that it was time to get the hell out of there while they still had the chance, but this time things are different. Even though they can't keep resetting the loop forever, most of the other signatures don't start going unhinged until a few nights in.
You know what I'm saying?
We don't want to even consider leaving anyone behind until at least night 5 or 6. The main problem is that they have no way of predicting what's going to come for them next, and this proves that it might be something different each time. But one thing that the slasher and the demonic force have in common is that they're both well-established monster types from the horror genre. So if they're trapped in some kind of endless horror movie, then they need to start playing by horror movie logic. They already knew that Megan was especially receptive to signals from the other side, so the moment that she started feeling off when the spirit attacked, they should have realized that something was trying to possess her. Now, whenever that happens, the first thing that you need to do is restrain them. So I would have had Abe and Max.
There's a lot of motherfuckers in real life right now who would tell me they spiritual, astronomical, astrology, demons, like this, like that, empath, emotions, like that. I ain't finna fucking think the first thing that caught their ass was a spirit. Like, what the fuck? Until I would have seen her at. Then I would have said, oh! And then as soon as she would have said, don't let it in. Any nigga that would have went to that door to try to let something in would have had to fade. You would have had to whoop me. If I'm gonna die, you're gonna have to whoop me for me to die. We're not opening this fucking door. This night it ended right now.
her down, while Nina and Clover quickly search the building for any rope, sheets, or even curtains that they can use to tie her hands.
Don't open the door.
Feet. They don't have the skills or
in the fucking sky.
Her face is ghoulish. Yeah,
don't open the door.
The good news is they wouldn't have to. As long as the spirit
you didn't see your sister at all before loading up in this bitch.
Run out the clock
so
while preventing it from causing any more damage. And hopefully, once the timer hits 0,
it's been a year. Why is she in trouble now?
Unfortunately, it's already too late to save her, and she gave them very simple instructions not to let it in. So Clover here is absolutely an idiot for falling for the trap. But since they don't know if the girls will stay dead or not after they break the loop, it's still better to try rescuing her now than leaving her behind. Right now, the best thing they can do is stick together and search the house for their friend, because even if they all die, they'll get another chance when the loop resets. Because, I mean, at least they'll still be working as a team instead of fighting amongst themselves and making the situation even worse.
Meanwhile, Clover wakes up on the floor of the abandoned shack, but she's not alone. As she looks around, she notices a decrepit old woman with an oxygen tank sitting in front of the TV. But as she quietly goes to leave, the woman slowly turns to face her, glaring at the girl with a sinister grin. Crossing the room, she threatens that they'll be stuck in the loop forever unless they can survive the night, before suddenly pinning the girl down and holding the oxygen mask over her mouth as her body slowly crumbles into dust. Outside, Max watches nervously as the door slowly creaks open, but the moment that he steps into the shack, his friends use the chance to make a run for the Jeep. Pulling out, Abe hits the gas and floors it into the storm, but before they
peep this, you see how both of them got in the whip and tried to shake?
Even made it more than a minute down the road, they spot a massive 300-foot tall creature blocking.
And they did nothing with this. They did nothing with this, bro. All they did was give us a sneak peek of this nigga and took off.
Their path, forcing them to turn back towards the welcome center. Nina begins to panic as she realizes that her door is locked, but while she's distracted, the mask-wearing psychopath returns and kills her boyfriend with a slash to the face, before appearing in the window directly behind her when she turns around. Inside the cabin, Max is still searching for any sign of his girlfriend when he hears a strange noise coming from somewhere upstairs. Checking it out, he eventually makes his way into a bedroom that's full of creepy old dolls, with an antique rocking chair sitting motionless in the corner. When he turns his back, the chair starts moving all on its own, and he nervously reaches out to stop it with his foot, but when he turns around again, he finds one of the evil-looking dolls sitting in the seat and kicks it to the other side of the room out of pure frustration. Suddenly, he turns around only to find himself face-to-face with his possessed girlfriend, and she's wearing one of the creepy masks from the mannequins downstairs, but before he even has a chance to react, she pulls out a knife and slashes his throat. Going for the others, the girl confidently walks outside like she's about to go on a rampage, only for her to immediately get run over by the killer the moment that she steps foot in the road. With the last player killed, everything instantly resets back to the start of the night, and they all wake up back in their original positions as the cycle begins again.
All right. I'm just gonna keep it real. Honestly, these guys suck at this so far, but hey, at least they're getting another try. They don't know what's coming up next, but they do know what they've been up against so far. So it's time to get prepared and do everything possible to survive this next attempt. Step 1 is to secure the building, and when it comes to dealing with the slasher, that should be easy enough. Clover, Nina, Abe, and Max should go around the house making sure that all the doors and windows are locked, blocking them with the furniture and putting obstacles at strategic areas in the hallways that they can use to slow him down. Now, keeping the witch out is a little bit more complicated, but it's not impossible. I mean, while the others are busy putting up physical defenses, Megan needs to search the house for any salt or iron nails that she can find. And actually, those might sound like two random objects, but according to folklore, they both work as deterrents for supernatural beings. So if we can find some, we need to lay salt lines along all the doorways and windows, hammer some iron nails in there as well, and draw out any protective symbols that she's familiar with on the floor, giving them as much protection as possible from the witch's influence. And I mean, after that, the next step would be to gather up any potential weapons that they find in the building. I mean, not only does this give them a way to defend themselves, but it also takes the weapons out of the slasher's hands, making him easier to deal with. Then it's as simple as hunkering down here in the lobby and waiting to see what happens. If the slasher starts breaking in, then they'll need to work together as a team to hunt him down. They can use their numbers to bait him into an attack, and then while he's recovering, go straight for the head this time. If they can take him out of the picture, creature, then that's at least one less problem that they'll have to deal with. But it's important to remember that they don't actually have to defeat any of the creatures. They just have to survive until the timer runs out.
They don't
so
know
instead
that
of
yet,
neutralizing threats, their main focus should be on keeping each other alive, because if even one person is killed, then they'll have to consider restarting the loop. With all that being said, they need an escape plan in case something goes wrong, so I'd plan to retreat to the second floor, where they can climb out the front window and jump down into their car. Even then, they can use the Jeep as a form of mobility, protection, and even a weapon, all while staying within the confines of the property, trying to hold out in the car for as long as they can.
I feel like the
And
Jeep
if
was
they have to,
placement.
it gives them the option to try their luck in the storm. The key is to prepare themselves as much as possible while leaving their options open to adapt if things get too
Kids like
dangerous.
this, especially when the
It's not going to be easy,
that's
but
around
if
my
they
damn
stay
age,
mobile
I'm
and
not
take
going
every
there to get
possible
no
opportunity
fucking
to prepare
four-door Jeep.
themselves,
If
they
it is
just
a
might
Jeep,
be able to outlast the clock.
Now that it's the third night, they notice that their injuries are getting worse, and it's starting to seem like they might never escape. With no way to tell what's coming next, they decide to barricade the doors and take shelter in the bathroom, but even that won't be enough to keep them safe. Thirsty, Abe gets up to try the faucet, and to their surprise, it starts pouring perfectly clear water, even though it wasn't working at all before. Thinking nothing of it, he immediately fills a glass and chugs the whole thing down before filling it up again and passing it around to the rest of the group. Although things are looking bad, Max says that there must be a way to get.
You fuck niggas just drunk faucet water. That shit didn't even have a purified damn. It didn't have a purified damn. Whatchamacallit? What you call the tip of a motherfucking a faucet? There, it didn't even have a little shit with the minerals that do all the cleaning in it.
Out because, according to the witch, it seems like they'll break the loop if they can survive until dawn. The only problem is they don't get an infinite number of tries, because every time they reset the loop, they're starting to become more and more like the monsters themselves. While his friends are all distracted, Abe starts coughing up blood into his hand, but he decides not to say anything about it to the others. He tries his best.
Why the fuck would you do that? Why the fuck would you do that? Why the hell would you do that?
To play it off, but it only gets worse and worse until suddenly he just explodes right in front of everyone, showering them all in a spray of blood and body parts. Panicking, Nina runs to the sink to wash the blood out of her mouth, only for her to explode next, just as the others are warning her to stop. Whatever's causing this must be in the water, and as they stumble into the hallway, they realize
Flint, Michigan?
That there's only a matter of time before the same thing happens to them. Megan starts coughing next, but what happens to her is so much worse. Instead of just exploding all at once, her body starts blowing up one section at a time, finally ending with her head as she's begging the others for help. Horrified, Clover starts begging Max to kill her instead so that they can reset the loop. But even knowing that they'll all come back.
This nigga, he not here for survival. This nigga, he here because his old, who broke up with him, was on some, I'm trying to go find my sister. He thought that this was the moment for him to go ahead and swoop in and show some emotional support so she could get him back. So she could get back with this nigga. This nigga not here on no survival. Bro, he here to try to get him back, dog. That's the I be talking about. Nigga not here for survival. This nigga is fuck. Nigga, you see, we're all about to die. The last person just died in excruciating pain. One nigga just coughed unknowingly. Boom. Other shorty worried about it. Oh no. Boom. Shorty knee. Boom. Betty. Boom. Dome. Boom. What do you think gonna happen to us? It look like it's picking and choosing which element of your body it wants to explode. Nigga, get me going before I die in agonizing pain, bruh. Nigga no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. You're my one and only. You're my love. I love you. I would never do this to you. Big bro. Bro, don't get me hot, bro. Don't get me hot in this bitch.
He still can't bring himself to do it. All of a sudden, he explodes just like the others, leaving only Clover to sit there and wait for her turn. But strangely, that's when the man from the gas station enters the room, telling the girl that she almost made it just before she finally blows up.
Okay, now come on. At this point, it's like they're trying to stay trapped in here forever. Knowing that everything here is trying to kill them, you would have to be a total moron to trust the water after it just started working. They'd have to be very careful not to get any on themselves, but I'd start searching the place for any bottles, mason jars, and even syringes or spray bottles, filling them with water and then throwing, spraying, or injecting it into whatever monster attacks them next. Before Clover died, the creepy old man pointed out how they almost made it, and this got me thinking, what if there was a way to somehow speed up time? Every time they reset the loop, the hourglass on the wall resets too. So if the passage of time here is somehow directly connected to the hourglass, then it might actually be possible. As we know, an hourglass tells time as sand falls through the neck due to gravity, but applying heat can actually cause the glass to expand a tiny amount due to the increased molecular energy, slightly widening the neck and allowing the sand to flow through it more quickly, right? It also works on the sand itself by drying out any moisture that might be causing it to clump up, warming up the particles to make them flow slightly faster. So knowing this, I'd search for a heat source like a candle or even a bunch of uncovered lamps and place it directly under the hourglass when the next round starts. How long is it going to take for it to turn on? It might only be a tiny change, if anything, but with how close they came to winning tonight, even fractions of a second can make a difference.
After the next reset, they decide to check the basement for any clues, and Clover ends up making an important discovery. The strange man from the gas station was actually Dr. Alan Hill, a psychiatrist who specializes in trauma. Many years ago, a mining disaster buried the entire town in a giant sinkhole, and the doctor came there promising to help the survivors, but it turns out that he had something much different in mind. That explains why there's a random door in the basement, but when Nina opens it up, the other side looks like a tunnel directly to the underworld itself, so going that way doesn't seem like an option. Checking the desk, Max finds a VHS tape and puts it on, watching as the camera focuses on a man in a padded cell. It looks like this guy was trapped in the loop just like them, and the doctor explains that after each night of horror, he began to change into a monster. After 11 nights, the victim completely transformed into a terrifying beast that he calls the Wendigo, and the others realize that the process is already happening to them. Just then, the doctor begins speaking over the radio, offering them a new opportunity to escape. He says that 4 of them can leave, but one of them has to die for real, and Megan here senses that he's actually a lot closer than they think. Picking up a signal, she points her finger straight at the man's desk, and inside they find an old map from before the town was destroyed. Sure enough, it shows that the Glore Valley Sanitarium used to be somewhere nearby, and Clover realizes that must be where the doctor is hiding. Getting back on the mic, she demands a chance to meet with him in person, and the man agrees, but only if Clover here comes alone. He even says that he'll let the girl see her sister, but her...
Now, time is dialing backwards, and I'm gonna believe a random ass nigga that's telling me something about letting me go. Every time I die, time goes backwards. And a nigga just told me, yeah, I'm gonna let y'all go. But one of y'all has to die. He didn't even say, yo, this is the way to break it. He said, I got a proposition for you.
Her friends can tell that it's obviously a trap. The only one who actually wants to go is Abe here, who keeps coming up with any excuse possible to support the girl's decision. But there's nothing that her friends can do to stop her as she barges past them and rushes into the forest. The others are absolutely furious at Abe for encouraging her to go, knowing that he only did it in hopes of saving himself. He tries to argue that they don't have many more chances left, so it's better to let Clover be the sacrifice if it means that they get to escape.
At least for me, because earlier, right?
But before he's even done talking, Nina grabs the pickaxe off the wall and puts it straight through his stomach, telling the others to...
This is what the fuck I was talking about. Earlier, when her best friend got captured, she literally escaped in the Jeep with this nigga. Literally. Before the first time she got kidnapped. And they thought she was dead. And they didn't want to go in that room to help her. Her and this nigga both hopped in the Jeep to take off. Now, why the fuck is she... Why did you... First off, we're boyfriend and girlfriend, and you just fucking murdered me. That's one. We're not coming back from this. I don't care if I'm coming back to life, because what she's about to say next is going to get you hot.
to go look for their friend. Somewhere deep in the woods, Clover's searching for the doctor when she accidentally steps directly into a bear trap. Shouting from the pain, she reaches down to pull it off, only for something to drag her away into a pitch-black cave. Meanwhile, back at the Welcome Center, it doesn't take long before the killer shows up to find them. And knowing exactly what has to happen next, Nina simply tells him to start with her boyfriend first.
And the nigga listened.
Alright, well, so much for that plan. They've already screwed this up again because they're still refusing to work as a team, but fighting with each other is the absolute last thing that they need to be doing.
In the movie
now, first of all, Clover here is obviously a complete idiot for falling for the doctor's trap. Her sister's been gone for over a year now, and they saw in the guest book that she's already transformed, so by now, there's absolutely nothing that they could do to save her. Normally, I'd agree with Abe here. If only 4 of us can leave and she wants to go looking for her sister, even though it's obviously a trap, then the smartest thing from a survival standpoint is to just let her go. But that's only if we believe a word that the doctor says, and why should we? He's clearly an unhinged maniac, and if he lets any of them leave, then they'll just go straight to the police and blow up his spot. So I've got a feeling that when he says he'll let some of them go, it's really just another trick to turn them all against each other. Now, the fact that he's trying so hard to split them up tells us that they need to be working together. And as usual, it looks like there's some important opportunities that they're missing here. Searching the basement was actually a great idea because it gave them context for what's actually going on. Now they know that the doctor is using the trauma connected to this place to run some kind of up experiment, and understanding who's behind it all can be key to escaping, but not by playing along with the obvious traps. When they first arrived, they noticed that the Welcome Center was covered by a patch of perfectly clear sky, even though the surrounding area was in the middle of a torrential downpour. If this were just the eye of the storm, the weather would have changed by now, but since they're permanently caught in the bubble, it tells us that something else is going on. This kind of strange weather anomaly would be almost impossible under normal conditions, but it's possible that a thermal updraft caused by a large heat source like underground vents or electromagnetic fields could create some kind of dome of clear weather. At least it did in my D&D campaign. So if we put all this together, it's possible that the doctor here has some kind of Outlast-style machine that runs the whole loop, and going beyond the storm could get you outside of its very effective boundary. The doctor would have needed a location for his device, so unless it's hidden right at the Welcome Center, it's most likely in his lair at the nearby sanitarium. Earlier, they decided not to use the tunnels because it looks too dangerous, but as long as they still have more respawns, they have nothing to lose by trying. We know that the town suffered from a mine collapse, so it's possible that these tunnels could lead beyond the boundary of the storm. And at this point, it's much too late to save this round, but the next time they reset, instead of splitting up and fighting over the right thing to do, they should all grab some weapons and flashlights and start heading into the tunnels, going in the opposite direction to the sanitarium and trying to get as far away as possible to see if they can eventually escape the bubble.
As Max and Megan explore deeper into the forest, they find entire neighborhoods of the community half buried, with only their roofs sticking out of the dirt. They're calling out for Clover when they hear an uncanny screech from somewhere in the darkness, and looking up, they're terrified to see one of the Wendigos snarling down at them from a tree. Running for their lives, Megan accidentally trips over something on the ground, realizing that she's just fallen directly onto a skylight from one of the sunken buildings. Max tries pulling her to safety just as the glass is about to break, but the Wendigo pounces directly on top of her and sends them both plummeting down into the room below, dragging her away into the shadows while he can't do anything but watch. Somehow, Clover here is still alive, and she manages to drag herself back out of the cave just in time for Max to find her. Suddenly, her sister Melanie emerges from the darkness, revealing that she's been transformed into a Wendigo as well. But as she lunges to attack, he quickly grabs the trap and sticks it straight onto her face, giving them a chance to run while the creature struggles to get free. They eventually take cover near the entrance to the old mine, and Clover starts blaming herself for what happened. Hearing the monster coming, she hands him a piece of broken glass and asks him to reset the loop. Only this time, he's actually able to do it, knowing that it's the only way to save his friends. After doing what she asked.
It took a lot of yapping. It took a lot of yapping for him to do it. Don't give this chest nigga no clout. It took a lot of yapping and a lot of prep for him to do it. He was, but no, nigga. No.
He swallows a mouthful of water from a leaky pipe and steps out to confront the creature, shouting at her just as he explodes into a million pieces. Waking up again, Clover finds herself already back inside the cabin.
They automatically outruled that fact earlier that like the loop restarts when she dies. Or wait, hold on. I got a vertical can't, so I'm gonna do it both ways. Boom and boom and boom.
And her boyfriend explains that she was acting extremely out of it. Nobody can seem to remember how long that they've been there, but that's when Nina drops the news that it's already been 13 nights. And when the others check the guest book, they realize that she's actually telling the truth. It seems like the loops must be affecting their memory, causing them to lose track of time, but that's not the only thing that they lost track of. Just then,
it's been 13 loops. I think we watched 4. I think we watched 4 or 5. It's been 13 loops. There's a good amount of loops that we can't account for. And that one girl that got caught by the Wendigo who never died was not a part of their loop. Was not a part of their loop. She was stuck in a completely separate timeline.
And they realize that Megan has gone missing, and there's no sign of her anywhere they look. The others can't remember what happened to her, and they're worried that she might have succumbed to the transformation before anyone else. On a hunch, Abe takes out his phone to check his camera, and it turns out that he's been recording their experiences during each night.
And
his camera roll is
these clipped nights are better than the nights that they put in the show,
full of clips showing them being attacked by everything from body-infesting parasites to a giant shadow man, and even more Wendigos with each attempt that went by. The final recording takes place from Megan's perspective, showing the doctor as he disappears down the tunnel into the basement. Turning to the camera, she says that she's going to follow him inside to look for anything that might help them escape, but it's the last time that the girl was ever seen alive. All of a sudden, they hear an air raid siren from somewhere in the distance, looking outside to see a crowd of mask-wearing villagers surrounding the building. With nowhere left to run and only one more chance before they all turn into monsters, Clover decides that it's time to take matters into her own hands. And grabbing a flashlight and a pickaxe from the wall, she announces that she's going into the tunnels to search for their friend. The others think that it sounds crazy at first, but hearing her out, they realize that it's their only hope of ever getting back home again. And after getting some weapons of their own, the three of them prepare to follow her down into the tunnels, agreeing that they need to stick together no matter what.
Alright, it looks like it's time for the showdown, and at least they're finally working together, but if this is the last chance that they're ever gonna get, then they need to make sure that they get this right. After learning what's been happening to the Doctor's victims, they should be expecting to come up against a new enemy type once they reach the sanitarium, which would be the terrifying mutated humans that he calls the Wendigos. These might actually be some of the most horrifying creatures that they've faced yet, but they've already learned some crucial information when it comes to defeating them. The Wendigos are incredibly fast, agile, and have superhuman strength, and the worst part is that they're almost indestructible, making them extremely resilient to almost all forms of damage, including headshots like we saw in the clip from Abe's phone. But with that being said, they also have two major weaknesses. First, the creatures are completely blind, meaning that they only hunt by sound, and second, they're incredibly weak to fire. Not only is it the best way to kill them, but they're actually afraid of it, allowing Clover and her friends to use fire as both a deterrent and a weapon. Now, knowing this, before going into the tunnels, I'd make sure that we were all armed with any fire-based weapons that we could make. I mean, everyone should be carrying a bunch of homemade torches and even Molotov cocktails if they can find the materials. As they make their way through the tunnels, they need to stay as quiet as possible, allowing them to sneak by without attracting attention. And if they have to, then they can throw a bottle or a rock as a distraction, making a noise to lure the creatures away and giving them a chance to pass by. It's not going to be easy, but if they make sure that they're both well prepared, both physically and mentally, they might actually stand a chance here.
Eventually, they find a place where one of the houses sunk into the cave, and Clover pulls open the window as she carefully climbs inside. Peeking around the corner, they spot one of the Wendigos crouched at the other end of the hallway, and Clover tells everyone to stay completely silent as they wait for it to pass. But just when it's about to leave, another one of the monsters suddenly jumps up in the doorway right in front of them, forcing everyone to scramble as it dives on top of Nina. Using her pickaxe, Clover manages to pin the monster's leg to the ground, but now even more of them are coming as they get the girl back on her feet, and their only choice is to keep running deeper into the tunnels. After winding their way through a collapsed mine shaft, they duck through a garage door only to find themselves in the middle of another house. And looking up, he realizes that they're back in the Skylight house, and the masked killer is about to drop in for a visit. He shatters the glass and lands smack in the middle of the room, eating the drop like it's nothing as he gets ready to start whooping ass. Seeing that he's about to go after Clover, the others get his attention long enough to distract him, giving her a chance to escape and keep searching for their friend. But she doesn't get much farther before her Wendigo-fied sister appears out of the shadows and starts chasing after her. Scrambling to get away, she makes a dash for a nearby suitcase, only for her sister to knock her back down. But getting to her feet, she hits her with a perfect tackle and drops her straight onto an exposed spike, impaling her on the jagged metal while using the girl's body to protect herself from the fall. Back in the sunken house, Max and the others are still using anything they can to fight off the killer. And after doing enough damage to knock him down, they use the power of teamwork to lift his sledgehammer and bring it straight down onto his head, finally taking him out once and for all. Pressing ahead, Clover finally makes it to the sanitarium. There's no sign of anyone.
Power of teamwork to lift the sledgehammer. Oh, these niggas.
There until she hears Megan calling for help, and rushing towards the sound of her voice, she finds the girl locked in a padded cell with one of the Wendigos chained to the other side of the room. But it looks like they don't have long before the monster breaks free. Promising to come back for her, Clover runs down the hallway looking for the key, but she ends up in a creepy office where it looks like someone's been watching their every move. Suddenly, she hears the door closing behind her, and that's when she comes face to face with the evil doctor himself. The man starts talking as if he knows the girl personally, reading off of notes that he's taken over the last few nights, but when he sets his coffee down on the desk, she notices that it's dangerously close to where there's water dripping from the ceiling. Playing into it, she waits for just the right moment before quietly sliding his coffee underneath the leak, letting a single drop of water fall in and then quickly pushing it back before he notices. Meanwhile, back in the tunnels, her friends are still fighting for their lives, but Clover can only stand there anxiously waiting for her plan to work. As soon as he takes a sip, the girl knows that she's already won, but it takes him a minute to realize that he's been tricked. That's when his stomach starts to rumble, and realizing that he's about to die, he lunges toward Clover in a fit of rage, but she pushes him away just as he violently explodes like a meat-filled balloon. This gives her a chance to grab his keys, and running back to the cell, she gets there just in time to save Megan's life, unbuckling her from the chair and slamming the door just as the creature finally breaks free. With only a matter of minutes left on the clock, everyone keeps running for their lives with dozens of Wendigos still chasing after them. Clover eventually makes it to a place where she can see moonlight poking through, and reaching up, she has to pull herself straight through the soil, all while the monsters keep trying to drag them back down. The girls manage to get free again, just as their friends come to the rescue, pulling them out of the tunnels as the timer finally hits 0. Suddenly, the sky around them clears up as they watch the sunrise over the mountains, and helping each other to the car, they finally get to go home after surviving the most traumatizing road trip of their lives. That makes one doctor down with 5 survivors, but back in his office, the monitors flip from the welcome center to a snowy cabin, just as a black SUV arrives outside, and it looks like another experiment is already about to begin. Until Dawn. Yeah, I was so hyped when I saw that they were making it Until Dawn.
Yeah, I was hyped too. And then I watched it. This video is gonna be about 40-something minutes. No care, no matter. I still get content out. You watch movie with me, you watch movie. Bang fung bao. Damn, that was racist as fuck. I apologize. Anyhow, I'm out. I gotta peel out to go do what I gotta go do. It's your boy Drix. Gonna spell it out with me. D-R-I-X. And we out.